And we're live! Touchdown! Checking my monitor over here to see if I'm live. Welcome to RockSim Live. My name is Tim Van Milligan, and today is May 25, 2024. It is the start of the Memorial Day weekend, and I am going to launch rockets this weekend down at the National Sport Launch in Alamosa, Colorado. If you are down there, say hello to us. We're going to have a booth out there. Not going to be selling anything, just kind of hanging out and flying rockets. We're going to try to get a lot of video and pictures. So if you have an Apogee rocket, bring it on by so we can take your picture. So I have the chat going. So this is about RockSim Pro, and the launch visualizer. So if you have a question, go ahead and type it in there, and we'll answer that today. And I'd like to recognize the people that have already shown up. We have Carlos in Marietta, Georgia, and he says it is thunderstormy there in Marietta, Georgia. Chris's Rocketry and More from Golden Valley, Arizona. And Kevin's Models and More from Las Vegas. And William Hunston. He says, hello, Carlos William here in Grayson, Georgia. Not too far from you, and he says no rain there. I don't know what the difference between Grayson, Georgia and Marietta, Georgia, how far apart they are, but one part of Georgia is getting rain and the other part is not. Scott Nelson is here from Fort Irwin, California. Greetings. And Reggie Morrow is here. Alfred Indy from East Lansing, Michigan. And Reggie Morrow says it's raining here in Iowa. We have beautiful sunshine here in Colorado, but it is quite breezy. So hopefully all the wind goes through today so that tomorrow when we're launching rockets, it's nice and calm. Okay. So thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. This is a special weekend. As I said, it's Memorial Day weekend, and this is the weekend where we honor those that have fought and died in our wars over the centuries, and we wouldn't be the country that we were without our those people that have sacrificed their lives for our freedom. So thank you. My father was a veteran. He fought in World War II, but he survived, so he's not memorialized. Thank goodness. I wouldn't be here. Kevin's Models and More says there's wind here in Las Vegas and it's relentless. Yeah, let's get the wind out of the way. Let's get some calm weather here for tomorrow. Okay, so let me bring up my screen. There we go. Okay, so this is the Apogee website, apogeerockets.com. This is where you get your RockSim. When you first come here, you'll see this scrolling banner bar here, and you'll see one for RockSim 11, and then there's one for the newsletter, and then there's one for the launch visualizer. And you can click on any of those and it'll take you to different pages on our website. If you scroll down a little bit, we have our RockSim Live training, which we're doing right now. And today is episode 168, I believe. If you click on that image, it will bring you to our archives. So last week was 167. And so, yes, today is 168. This is what our topics were from the last week and all the previous episodes. You can find them there, find out what we talked about. If you're interested in something particular, like how to do something, you can do a Command F or Control F on Windows, and it brings up a little search bar on this page, and it will just search this specific page. So if you were searching for decals, every time we talk about decals, it would show up like, here's episode 150, how to add decals to your RockSim design. And so if you go to this YouTube video and you click on the timestamp, it'll take you to that video and you can watch what we talked about there. So this is a very good reference for you on how to use RockSim. And this is the past episodes. So if you're not watching live, this is where you might go for information. If you're watching live, go ahead and put your question in the chat. And even if we've answered it before, we'll answer it specifically for you so that we're covering your questions. Okay, so on our website also, if you go to the how-to and guides up here, and then come down here to software, this is where you will find all the information about RockSim. Here's a free trial. Here's where you can purchase it. Frequently asked questions, system requirements, version history, and then more information here on this side. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's, this past week, we released RockSim Pro version 4. So what is in version 4? So if you go to the version history, so RockSim is on version 11, RockSim Pro is on version 4, because RockSim is older, so it's been around a lot longer. But here, if you scroll down, you'll find what features were added. And what happened was we released RockSim 11 first rather than RockSim Pro version 4 because we had some problems with the terrain maps. Because in RockSim Pro, you get to see everything in 3D, and we were using Bing Maps, and they kind of stopped working with our software. So we had to scramble, and during that time, we weren't able to release RockSim Pro, but we got that map situation straightened out. And so we updated version 4, so it has all these new features: auto engine update, better representation of fins. You can do airfoiled fins, and you can actually see them now. You can do, in RockSim Pro, you can do canted fins, which is really cool. It has an ejection charge calculator, so if you're going to be doing dual deployment, you need to figure out how much black powder you're going to need for the ejection charges, and that ejection charge calculator will give it to you like that. It's really powerful, very cool feature. We added a new measurement feature. We created wraps that go around your tube so you can mark your fin positions. You can export out the 2D model of the drawing at 100% scale. So if you wanted a big scale image of your rocket, you can do it. We added component mass to the display. So in the parts tree, you'll see that today. The mass of every part is listed right there, so you can kind of quickly see it. We added a search feature in the engines because there's thousands of rocket motors in the database, and sometimes if you're looking for a specific one, it can be kind of hard. So we added a search feature so you can find that specific one really quick. And then it also removed some unnecessary files. And then in RockSim Pro specifically, we added the fin cant angle, which I talked about, and we also fixed an issue with Google Earth Pro, which gives you a better scatter plot. You can run scatter plots in RockSim Pro, and then so you can superimpose them on the Earth and find where your rocket is most likely to land, like the splashdown area, if you will, of where your rocket's going to land. So that's what's in RockSim Pro version 4. And that has been released this week. So if you're running RockSim version 3, RockSim Pro 3, it's a free upgrade. You're paying by the month anyway, so we'll just give you all the new free features, and there's no additional cost. So that is RockSim Pro. We are, as far as RockSim goes, we are working on some bugs. The biggest bug, and the programmer told me about this one, he thinks he's got a handle on that one stupid bug where your switching from one design file to another and it crashes. And he says that something is not getting closed out properly, and so when you open the new one, it crashes. And so he thinks he has a handle on it, and I'm gonna give him a couple more weeks to finally nail it down, and then we'll release a bug fix version for RockSim 11. So the current RockSim 11 is it should be 11.0.0 F7. So it's the first version of RockSim 11. So when we do the bug fix one, it should be RockSim 11.0.0. No, RockSim 11.01. All right, so anyway, so we have MOB rockets from Mesa, Arizona. 3D printer guy, and he says, Tim, how are you? And I'm doing well. I'm feeling strong. So we got some questions. So let's go to the first one. Is from Carlos in Marietta, Georgia. And he says, is the new Apogee balsa plywood in RockSim materials database, or will it be? If not, what's the best workaround? Okay, so this past week, was it this week or last week? We released a new product called balsa plywood, and here's what it looks like. It's just a sheet of balsa wood, but it's actually a plywood. So you can see, see this dark balsa over here, and then light balsa, and then dark balsa. It's balsa wood that's been sheeted together, but more than that, it's got 3 different layers. So you have a top layer and a bottom layer, and then inside there's a sandwich layer. And so the grain on the top and the bottom go in the same direction, but the one in the middle goes opposite. And so what this means is that it's a lot stronger in all directions. And so it gives you an advantage if you need big parts. Since everything is glued together, we can make it quite big. We chose to make them 6 inches wide by 18 inches long. And the reason we did it that size was for shipping. Because if it gets any bigger than that, then it's got to go in a bigger box, and then it gets really expensive. And all these are hand laid up. And you can see in this illustration that the glue is being applied, and then the panels are being applied, and then they get re-glued. You can see the 3 layers, and then they get smashed together to make sure that all that glue adheres so there's no pockets of air in there. And then they get heated up and smashed down, and then finally cut to size. So that's how they're made. It's I remember in the 1980s when I first started Apogee, there was another company, and I forget the name of it. And they were selling balsa plywood, and I was so jealous because I wanted to sell it because it was really cool stuff, and it was selling pretty fast. And but then they went out of business, and I can understand why, because each of them is hand laid up. But we found a company that can make a lot of them, because that's all they do is they make plywood. And so it doesn't matter what material they're making out of, if it's, Baltic birch plywood, which is what we use for our plywood fins, or balsa wood. It doesn't matter to them, so they can make it. So is this in the RockSim database? And the answer is no, because it's brand new. But here's how to add it. So the balsa plywood has the same density as regular balsa wood. So if there was a workaround, what you would use is just balsa wood. So you could go to your fins, and you go edit on your fins. And this one here, the material is set at G10 fiberglass, but you could just choose balsa wood, and that would work for this balsa plywood. So that's the quick workaround. But if you wanted to have like a bill of materials for your rocket and you wanted to specifically say balsa plywood, well, let's add it to the database. So I'm going to cancel out of this, save my changes, no. And we're going to go to the rocket menu. And then in the rocket menu, we're going to hit Edit Database, and then come over here to Materials. And it's going to bring up like a spreadsheet of all the materials that are in the RockSim database. And we're going to want to find the one that says balsa. So I'm going to sort this list by name. And so the first ones are numbers, and then we get into letters. So we start out with acrylic. And here's balsa, and our density right here is 8 pounds per cubic foot. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a new material, but we're going to use that same density because it's pretty much similar. So I'm going to add a new entry, and it throws it at the very bottom of the list. So if you don't see it, scroll all the way down using the scroll bar there on the right, and then type in the name of the material, so balsa plywood, and then under the density we had pounds per cubic foot, and it was 8 pounds per cubic foot. And is it a fixed dimension? No. A fixed dimension would be like string, where you have a weight per length. But we're already specified here pounds per cubic foot. So we're going to say none here. And then under dimensions, we'll just choose inches just to be consistent with everything else. And then for these, fixed dimension, let's put 0 like everything else. When in doubt, just copy, what everything else was done or something very similar. Okay, so now we're going to choose which items this material can be made out of. So first one is rocketry use. So is this for rocketry use? And we're going to say yes. And so we're going to check the little box. And what it's going to do is when we save this, it's going to turn that into a 1. That means it can be used for rocketry. So now the ones with a 0 in them are not used in rocketry, although they're in the database. So basically, it kind of like you're creating a big database, but you're turning ones on and off that you don't use very often. Like unobtainium, I put that one in there just for fun. You can't buy unobtainium because it's unobtainium. So right now it's set to 0, which is it's not for rocketry use. Okay, so then you got to say, okay, can I use balsa plywood to make a body tube? And the answer is probably no, because it's stiffer in all directions. You're not going to be able to wrap it. So I'm going to say no for that. So I'm not going to check it. Can I use it for fins? Yes, I can. So that's like the primary purpose of that. For launch lugs, no. Am I going to use this for a shock cord? No. Can I use it for a nose cone? Probably not. Parachute, no. Streamer, no. Transition, no. Ring, no. Bulkhead, yeah, we can use it for a bulkhead. And we probably could use it for a ring. So yeah, we can make centering rings out of that. Engine blocks, maybe. I'll put it in there. A sleeve is a tube that goes over the outside of another tube. Since we didn't do it for body tube, I'm not going to do it for the sleeve, and I won't do it for the coupler. So at this point, I'm going to say okay. And what it does is it added it to your own personal database. So now it's in the database. So this time, if I go to the fin set, and if I select the material, I should see balsa plywood, and there it is at the very bottom because it's brand new. And if I selected it, it will automatically recalculate the mass of the fins. So that's how you add a material to your database. It's not hard. It's just a matter of copying and pasting information into the database. And if you don't want to do it, just choose something that has a similar density, and balsa wood has similar density. All right, so thank you for that question, Carlos. Next question. Reggie Morrow says, how can I export the flight graph in a format that I can place in other print documents? Is there a way to export both the flight info and graphs as a PDF? Are you on Windows or a Mac? I'm on a Mac right now, and on a Mac I can do it. On Windows, I think you need, it's kind of like adding a printer to your printer list. Oh, Reggie Morrow says Mac. And it converts documents into PDFs for you. On the Mac, it's automatically natively built into the software. So he wants to export out a graph. This is what he said, a flight graph. Okay, so let's open a design. Not the level 2, I want something smaller. How about the Kronos? Okay, so here, and there's the bug that crashed. Okay, I was in RockSim Pro. Let's open that up. Okay, so here's RockSim Pro. Here is RockSim version. It's telling me I got a new version available, but there's actually, here it is right there. Oh man, I need to fix that because there's not a new version yet. It's coming. I gotta fix that. So let's do file, open. Yeah, let's go to RockSim Designs, Kronos rocket. All right, so there's my Kronos. And what were we doing? We were doing, printing a graph. Okay, so here's a flight that we did, an Aerotech that was flown on an F-52 Classic. Is it Classic? With a 5-second delay. So I'm going to rerun that simulation. Okay, and I'm just looking at what it's going to be. Maximum ejection delay. This is in centimeters. Wow, okay. Turn that back into inches. So 98, let's make it 30. No, we need to make this 60 inches. 5-foot long rod. Launch conditions, 6 mile an hour wind, and let's do a flight profile, just do a quick, see what it looks like. Okay, so here's the rocket down there, and we're gonna launch it, and the rocket's taking off. It's going mostly straight. It goes to the top. I'm grabbing the slider bar and bringing it down faster. And it lands about 300 feet away. And so that's a pretty typical flight. Looks pretty good. Nothing unusual there. So let's go to the graphs. So the graphs is first you got to highlight that simulation and then click on the graph button. And then you have to decide what you're going to graph. So on the x-axis, we'll have time. On the y-axis, let's go thrust. Let's go altitude. And let's go maybe velocity. So thrust, velocity, and time. Thrust, altitude, and velocity. And let's plot it to the end of the data and plot the graph. Okay, so here is our graph. And you can see it, but all the important information happens before 10 seconds. So I am going to edit the graph and change it to end the graph at the data end of 10 seconds. At the end of data at 10 seconds. So if I replot it, it should, come on, we should have done that. graph ending point at the end of the data, plot the graph. Why didn't it do it? Okay. Well, anyway, I can print. So I click on that print button, which was just off the screen there. And on the Mac, you have over here, you can print to a PDF. So I can save it as a PDF. And then it's going to ask me, where do I want to save it? And I'm going to put it onto my desktop right here. And I'll call it Kronos Flight Data. And then hit save. And then if I go to my desktop, come on, where's a Finder window when you need one? Go to desktop and date modified. Where's that data? Should have been, what happened to my data? Let's try that again. Print. I wonder if it wants to send it to the printer. Open in preview. Let's see what if it happens if I do that way. Nothing. I wonder if I'm having problems with my printing dialog here. Preferences. Plot the graph. Print. It just keeps going back to the screen here. That's interesting. Let me try it in RockSim Pro. Oh, and it crashed. Let me save this, copy. I'm going to send this one to my programmer. See if I need to bring up text edit. New document. I'm just going to save this. And if I save, crash, report. Okay, save it. All right, it saved it. All right, cancel that. Okay. RockSim Pro. Here's RockSim Pro. This one. All right, so open. Kronos rocket. Okay, we want to run that simulation again. So you right click on it and go edit, and it reloads everything. The starting state, and we had it 60 degrees or 60 inches. Flight events, maximum ejection delay. This one is launched from 700 feet, and this one doesn't have any wind. So let's go 4 miles an hour from the west, and go launch. Okay, and then go to graph. Okay, x-axis time. What do we say? Velocity, and we wanted thrust, and it was altitude. And 2 of these are black, so let's change the color, make one of them greenish. And let's go 10 seconds. Let's see if this works on this one. And it didn't work here either. Interesting. Something happened, because that used to work. So print. And go print to a PDF. Save as PDF. see if this one works. Desktop, Kronos data, hit save. Something happened, something went somewhere. Get this screen out of the way. Where's my Finder? It didn't put it on the desktop. Huh, okay, well, there's another way. There's always another way. So click OK here. This time we'll go to print. And what we want, we don't want any rocket information, we don't want any drawings, and we don't want the placement wraps, we don't want any parts list. We want the selected simulation, and we want the graphs. So just choose the graphs. Only the selected one and the simulation graph. And then our additional settings here say print to a PDF. Then click OK. It's going to ask me where I want to print it. And I'm going to say print, but it should ask me where I want to save it. And that's what it's doing right now. I'll put it on the desktop. Open that folder. I ran the simulation, and I think something happened. Let's go back to my Finder. And it's not here. And it should be on my desktop. Wait a minute, that's not the desktop. There it is. Desktop. It helps to go to the right folder. All right, so here is a PDF of that flight data. So this was sending it through the printing function. I like to, like I said, my preference is to see it here, plot it, and then print it from here, and then go save as PDF. Kronos data to save. I don't think this is going to work, but that's the way you should be able to do it. It was working in the past. I wonder, because I am, we were talking earlier that there is a bug fix version coming, and I am playing with this bug fix version. The only thing that mine doesn't have is the crashes, fixing those crashes. So I think my bug fix version, it doesn't have the graphs in it because I think there's a new bug. I have to check with my programmer. So hopefully, Reggie, I didn't confuse you too much. So go to the print menu right here, come down here to simulation information, click on simulation graphs, and then under the additional settings, make sure it says print to a PDF. And that should give you, it should export out it just like you want to see. Oh, okay. Where am I? Scott Nelson says, is there a way in RockSim to find out the number of grains in a motor? And the answer is no, because RockSim doesn't care about the number of grains in the motor. What it cares about is the thrust curve. So if you go to prepare for launch, so if you go choose engine, and this is the data that it has in the database. Because the engine files don't store that information. What the engine files store, there's another program that comes bundled with RockSim. And it's called Engine Edit. And it's in your applications folder, RockSim. And here's Engine Edit. And when you bring up Engine Edit, here's all the information that it will store. It will store the manufacturer, the engine code, the engine type, single-use, reloadable, or hybrid. The ejection delays, the diameter, the length, the mass, and the propellant mass, but it does not store, there's nowhere in there that it says that it stores the number of grains. So we don't have that information available. If it was in the engine file, we would try to put it into RockSim. Let me go here to thrustcurve.org. This website, thrustcurve.org, is a website that has all the thrust curves on it. So let's browse by reloads. Let's do an H reload, 38 millimeter. Aerotech. Okay, so here's an H112 Blackjack, and what they store is the name, the motor type, the delays, the diameter, the length, the propellant weight. Again, it does not tell you how many grains, that are stored in the motor. So no, we don't have that information available. And if you try to get it from thrustcurve.org, he's probably going to shoot you, because how much information, there's thousands of rocket motors, and he'd have to find out how many grains are in each motor. And he probably wouldn't like that. But once he put it in the database, since RockSim now automatically downloads his data, that would be pretty useful. Johan de Sloper says, hello, I'm back. He's from the Netherlands, so it's getting late there in the Netherlands. Let's see what time it is. He's in Paris time zone, so he's 8 hours ahead, so he's about 10:43. Very cool. And he says, everything I can weigh, I will do and mass override. Many times I will also weigh sub-assemblies to get more exact glue weight. So that's cool. So he's being really precise with his masses. Reggie says, I can always do a screen capture. Yeah, you can, but then it's not a PDF. And the advantage of a PDF is you can manipulate it in other programs like Adobe Illustrator. And I do that all the time. Viewfinder window, and here's that data. And if I drag that data into Adobe Illustrator, when you see, is it opening? Application not responding. There we go. Close. Okay, so when you see the graphs and things in our newsletter, I always export it as a PDF like this, because then you can manipulate it. So I can take this whole graph here, and if I make my screen bigger, oops, not that one, this one. So I can take everything and stretch it. I can make things bigger and smaller, and I can change fonts, and I can make it look pretty. And then I put it in the newsletter, and it's in the newsletter as a PDF. And when you go out to print it, it will print it very pretty, the highest resolution, because this is all vector. And your lines will be nice and crisp. So if you ever have the chance, always export it to a PDF so that you can open it and massage it later to make it look pretty. So that's what I do all the time. And we have Carlos McCauley from Palm Bay, Florida. And he says, sunny with light wind, very high wispy clouds. Yeah, that's Palm Bay. That's where FIT is. I went to FIT. I didn't graduate, but I got pretty close. I was one class short, and then I moved to Colorado. So I was one class short of a master's degree in space technology. And I'm still one class short. It's probably not going to happen because I don't really need it. But it was just fun. It was fun to go to FIT. Scott Nelson says, thanks for the explanation. Johan says it's 10 p.m. there. And Reggie says, understand, I am working on a PowerBook, not hooked up to a printer. So yeah, you should be able to create on a Mac, you should be able to create a PDF without being hooked up to a printer. And you should be able to do that on Windows too, but I think you need another application. And it's kind of like a printer driver. So if you have an HP printer, in order to print to that printer, you need a driver so that the computer can talk to the printer. But I think there's a driver that converts to PDFs. It thinks there's a printer out there somewhere in the world, but it just creates the PDF. Okay. No more questions. Come on, put in your more questions. Don't save that. Close that. Thrustcurve.org. John Coker is the guy that runs this website, and my shout outs to John Coker. It's a fantastic website. It's got all the certified rocket motors in it, and it takes a lot of effort to create this website, and he created an API key so that RockSim could talk to his database, and that's how we are able to grab new motors as they become available. So the most popular, let's see what the most popular motors are. A Gorilla H186, holy cow, it's trending downwards. The M1850 is trending up. These are big motors, people. Here's the Estes D12. That's the one I know. All right. Carlos says, question 2. You have shown RockSim tricks like zero thrust motors to model certain rocket behaviors. But are they gone when the motor database update occurs? Could you add a file with these tricks in the future? Okay. So we'll go back to engine edit. So we're going to create a fake rocket motor. I think I did this before and I lost it. Let's see if I can find it. Fake Estes C6. Nope, can't find it. Let's create a new one. So in Engine Edit, we're going to create a brand new motor. And this is how you do it. So we're going to start, you click on the box that says Add New Engine. Click on that. And then you have to select the burn time and the thrust. So I'm going to say the burn time is 0.25 seconds. So it's a really short burn time. And the peak thrust, let's make it 1 Newton. So it's like nothing. Okay, now we click OK, and it created a graph here. So what I want is a fake motor. What we use motors for, the fake motors, is to trigger events that are otherwise hard to trigger. For example, triggering if you have a 2-stage rocket and you want to simulate a rocket where the upper stage comes down by itself, like an egg capsule kind of separates from the rocket. And the only way to do that is to make a 2-stage rocket so RockSim can see the 2 parts and see the 2 parts falling down separately. And we use a fake motor in the upper stage because it has to have a motor in order to deploy the parachute. So we're going to create a fake motor just to deploy a parachute, just to trigger RockSim to say, throw the parachute out. So what we need to do is create a thrust curve. So I'm going to create a thrust curve. So you just double click in the graph right here. And this is going to create an engine file because RockSim needs an engine file. Now, for this fake motor, we don't want to have any thrust. But right now I have thrust and I have a total impulse of 0.2 Newton seconds. So a engine is 1.25 Newton seconds. Is it 1.25? Okay, C is 10, the B is 5, an A is 2.5, a half A is half of 2.5 is like 1.75, and then half of that would be a quarter A. So we're like really small right now, but we got to make that smaller. So I'm going to make my thrust. You just grab the point and drag it, and I'm going to drag it like right there. So now our total impulse is like it's less than a breath of air. It's barely noticeable. My burn time, I want to shorten that burn time. I think in order to shorten that burn time, I got to start a new engine. So I'm going to add a new engine. This time I'm going to make my burn time 0.1 seconds. Let's make it 0.01 seconds, and the thrust is 1 again. Okay, so here's the old one, and I'm going to delete that one. Say yes. So here's the new one, and it doesn't have a thrust curve yet, and I'm going to click out here, double click. Okay, so this is what did we say, 0.01 seconds. You can see my total impulse is even smaller, and I can make it smaller than that by just dragging it closer to the 0 line. And now this is like as small as I can make it and still have thrust. All right, so now we need to add a manufacturer. I'm going to make it an Apogee engine. I'm going to call it the engine code fake motor. And then the engine type, I'll make it single use. The ejection delays, RockSim doesn't really care, but you can add them if you want. I'll have a 0, a 3, a 5, and a plugged. So to make a plugged motor, you got to put in a P. Now we got to specify a diameter. Okay, so now now we're getting into the physical aspects of the rocket. So what's the diameter? What's the smallest diameter an engine mount could have? It's kind of like the the Quest Micromax are 6 millimeter in diameter. So I'm going to say the diameter is 6 millimeters, and we'll call the length, let's make this, this one in inches, make it 0.5 inches. So now we need to give it an initial mass and a propellant mass. And I think you need to have something here. So make it as small as possible. If that's 0.1, we'll make that one 0.2. So you could barely even measure this on a scale. I mean, my scale that I have is 2 decimal points. So 3 decimal points is, I don't even know if a jeweler scale could do that for measuring diamonds and things. It's so precise that you have to have it in a box because any air circulation inside the box could cause, variations in the scale. And it's got to be on a shock absorber because any, vibration of the earth, an earthquake could cause it to shake. So you could barely measure this. So now we have our new fake motor, and I'm going to say save. And let's see, where's it going to put it? So when we go to save, let's put it on the desktop. Let's call it a fake motor. And it's going to choose the RockSim engine format. So it's going to be .rse when it's saved on the desktop. And I'm going to hit save. And now if I go to my desktop, there it is, the fake motor. Okay, so now how do you get this into RockSim? So that's pretty easy. Cancel there, cancel there. Let's open a design that I can use this in. So I want to, let's see what we can put this in. Let's see if we can get it to crash. We need an Apogee kit, kind of like an Express. What's the name of that kit? We got so many kits that I forget the name of them. If I go to shopping menu, or view rockets by manufacturer, egg tosser. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay, so here's an egg tosser. Click open. Save my changes. No. See if I'm going to crash. It didn't crash. Okay, so what we're going to do on this rocket is we're going to have the egg capsule come down separately. And this is done all the time in TARC. So for this, you need to have it as a two-stage rocket. And so here's the booster. So we're going to have everything from the body tube all the way to the back. We're going to copy that, and we're going to put it into the booster. Edit, paste. Okay, it pasted it in there. And then we're going to delete this one right here. And it did. And this is a two-stage rocket, so now if I hit two-stage, I can see it. All right, so now we need to add a parachute to this upper stage and a motor mount. So let's add the inside tube first, and we need to have, I don't know what the Quest BT3, I don't know what it is. We'll add it, change the length. We just need a tube in this engine or this part here to have that fake motor. So it says 6 millimeters will fit, so that's good. We'll call it a fake tube for our fake motor. I haven't added the engine yet, but I will. And then we need to put in a parachute. And it's not letting me put in a parachute there. I can put in my parachute into that tube right there. Let's put in a 18-inch nylon. So there's my parachute, and I'll make it red. And I'll make the 3D color red so we can see it. Okay, so there's my parachute for the egg capsule. And click OK. Let me do save as egg tosser. I want to put it on the desktop. This is going to be two parachutes. Hit save. Okay, so now we're ready to run the simulation, but first we got to add in that motor. So to add that motor, go to import, and we're going to go engine files, and now we have to find that engine file. So I put it on the desktop. There it is, fakemotor.rsc, open, and it imported it, and it says total copied 1. So now it's in our database. So now when you do that, it opens it up here, and we need to move that motor over to this side. So we're going to you highlight it and say add, and it added it into the list here. under the F, I assume. So there it is right there. Click OK. Now let's prepare this for launch. Okay, so here's the fake tube. And for that one, we're going to choose that fake engine. And we'll call it fake. And it's not seeing it. Why are you not seeing it? Should be in there. Manufacturer. Apogee. Show all engines. Let's clear that out. Why is it not showing me my motors? Cancel that. Let's see if we can put a motor in the bottom stage. Here's a D. Why is it only showing me some certain motors? I should be seeing all motors. Why is it not showing me the Estes motors? Reload engine data. And this is all the motors. And there's Cicerone, there's Estes. And then there's my fake motor. It should be seeing it. Click OK. It should be seeing it, so load. Show all. Show all engines. There's all my engines. Whew. Okay. It's sorted by millimeters. So the smallest ones are 18. We should be seeing 13s for the Estes motors. What is going on with my engine database? And click cancel. Let me, I wonder about RockSim Pro. So this is 4.00 F9. Wait a minute. Let me save this design again. If I'm going to open it in the older version of RockSim. So that's what I'm going to do, see if it works there. I want to get this to work before the end of the day. Okay, RockSim version 11 F7 is the latest one. It's launching that. Carlos McCauley says, while attending FIT, did you fly rockets with SRA? They have been flying rockets there since 1973. Is that Space Coast Rocketry? If the answer is yes, I did. At that time, it was me, Pat McCarthy, Mark Levine, Mike Myers, Bob Kahn, and then a bunch of other people that I didn't know. He says, your friend Moose was flying rockets with us last summer. That's cool. Moose is Mark Levine. I'm glad he's still flying rockets. He was a groomsman in my wedding. So, yeah, I know him well. Okay, so open. So I'm in the current version of RockSim. And I just want to see if this bug is in this version. So on the desktop, Egtosh, there were 2 parachutes. Okay, so here, let's go to import engine files. Go to my desktop, desktop here. Fake motor, click open. It imported that motor. And There's the motor, add it. So it added it to the database, so it should be over here this time. There's a ton of motors in here. There's Estes, there's my fake motor.rc. So click OK. Let's say now, okay, so now we're getting Estes motors. Show only that match the motor mount diameter. So on this one, we have an 18 millimeter motor, so let's make it a C6 5. Click OK. So the fake motor, let's hope it works. Oh, there it is. Hey, it works. Yay. So here's the fake motor that I just made. So it's the bug is in the new version, which you don't have yet. So we'll make sure we get that fixed before you get it. But you can make the fake motor. So this one is going to have an ejection delay of 0 seconds. So it's going to burn for 0.01 seconds. And then it's going to eject its parachute. So what we want to happen is the motor goes up, and at 5 seconds into the flight, the second stage is going to ignite. But that motor burns so fast that it's like it's not even there. So at 5 seconds, that second stage ignites, and then the second stage motor, this fake motor, has an ejection charge, and it pushes its parachute out, and that happens at 0 seconds. So basically, everything happens at the end of 5 seconds into the burn of the booster stage motor. And then when you do a flight profile, you won't see it. Well, we could. Okay, so here's the rocket sitting on the pad, and this is a 2-stage rocket, so this little pink part here at the bottom is the booster stage, which is basically the long part of the rocket, and then the upper part is the egg capsule. And let me see if we can create an image. I don't think we can. Let's try it, because I think this was a bug in this current version. Hey, tosser, we gotta choose a file path. We need to put this into a folder. So I'm gonna call it my sprites. That's what they are, sprites. Click open there. And what do we call it? Egg tosser. And generate the data. Oh, so you can't even see it. It's so small. Oh, that first one was the egg. But I don't think it generates the parachute. No, this should be generating a parachute. That's the bug. We're getting that fixed, but currently it's not working. As soon as it's done generating this, it's just really small. It should be going around maybe 1 or 2 more times. It's taking a long time. That's the egg capsule right there. It's very small. Okay, it's done. It has to reload it. So here's my rocket that we made, and it looks more like the rocket now. And when we launch it, the rocket takes off. See the smoke coming out. It's still going together. And then, okay, so now you can see there's 2 parts falling. There's the egg capsule, which is the green part. They're starting to separate now. So they're coming down separate. And then the parachute for the upper stage is right here. And so you can see where they're both going to land. If I could import my engine files into RockSim Pro, it's a lot more exciting in RockSim Pro because you see you actually see the parachutes on them. But it is tracking that egg, and the only way we can do that is by having that fake motor. It doesn't weigh anything, and it doesn't produce any thrust. So it's fake, but the whole purpose is to trigger an event. So you have to set this up as a 2-stage rocket to do it. So I'm going to save that. That's interesting. That was fun. Carlos says, could the fake motor tricks be in the product? It used to be. The fake engines used to be in the engine database, but when we allowed the engine database to be overwritten because of the automatic engine downloads, it kind of got erased. So we'll see if we can get that back in. Reggie Morrow says, maybe your programmer can streamline export features to quickly and easily make PDFs from any data created through RockSim. Yeah, I know. I wish we could have like everything we always wanted. Carlos McCulley says, SR71 built an Apogee kit, used Elmer's instead of instructed CA. My mistake. Can RockSim help me figure out that was so wrong? I have seen other SR71s fly fine. Mine flies like a rock. Unfortunately, no, because RockSim is not a structural analysis program because every rocket is built different. And the way you build your rocket is your craftsmanship. And you know, you can have two people glue on fins onto a rocket, but they're not going to be the same in real life. You know, somebody that doesn't know how to glue fins on, they can come off easily versus someone that's an expert craftsman. So RockSim doesn't know how expert you are as a builder, and it will never know because there's an infinite variety. So we're probably not going to be able to do structural analysis like that. Rocket Profit says, I have never been able to get my purchase of RockSim 10 to activate on my Windows PC. So what you do there, Rocket Profit, is call us up on the phone. We'll help you out. And if you can't get it running, we can tell if it's been registered or not. And if it hasn't been registered, we'll refund your money. You know, we don't want you to say you're wasting the money. So, you know, call us up on the phone. Our number is on every page of our website. So here's our website. And every page says talk to a real person, and our phone number is right there on the website. Carlos McCauley says, I have autographs from you, Pat McCarthy, and Moose in my copy of Model Rocket Design and Construction. How cool is that? I'm glad that Moose and Pat signed it, because that makes the book valuable. My signature, not so much. Reggie Morrow says, by the way, my X15 kit from Apogee turned out awesome. Thanks for all you do. So if you've never seen our X15 kit, I wanted to take one with me to the National Sport launch, but I just didn't have time to. I've got two of them. I got my display model and my flying model, and my flying model needs a little bit of work. And I'm not going to fly the display model because these things are awesome. They like Reggie says, they're a very cool rocket. It's almost excellent scale. We had to stretch it just a little bit to make it fly right, but it's not much. It's not much. And everything else is scale. This is a picture from Bob Smith. He sent that photo in. There's the real X15. There's what the kit, what the parts. It's got these massive vacuum forms, which are really hard to do. We've got etched tubes, so you don't have to do any drawing on the tube. Plastic nose cone. It's got a baffle. It's got fin alignment jigs. It's got a display stand, so you can stand it up. Here's the back fins. When you assemble them, it's kind of like a 3D jigsaw puzzle. It's a really beautiful kit. Like I said, So thank you, Reggie. I'm glad it worked out for you. Carlson he says, man, I got this heart on my screen here that's hiding a word. I had an install issue, 20 seconds on the phone, found my typo. Okay, good. All right, so we are over time again. So that's the end for today. I'm not going to be here next Friday, so there's going to be not a RockSim Live next Friday, but the week after, which I think is June 5. Let me check that. Yeah, it's June 5. No, that's July. June 7. June 7th, we'll be back with our next RockSim Live. And I'm going to go pack my rockets because I'm going to be leaving right from here and going to the National Sport Launch. It's going to be fun. If you're there, say hello. If you're not, I wish you were there. Maybe next year, although next year it probably won't be here in Colorado. It'll probably be somewhere else. All right. Well, thank you again. So I'm gonna give you a countdown and launch. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.